What's up, everybody? Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dion and you're watching Reptiliatus. In today's video, I am excited to be joined by my friend Trisha.
Hi guys!
Of Reptilian Garden. And the two of us today are going to be sharing 3 points each on tips and tricks that make keeping lizards a lot easier. I really think it'd be awesome if you guys took some time to check out her channel and subscribe. And you know what you should do? You should actually comment on one of her videos and say Reptiliatus sent me. It'd just be kind of fun to show her how many of us go over there and subscribe to her channel. I always love doing this when I do collaboration videos. So let's see who can send more people to who. It'd be kind of fun. Don't forget to subscribe down below if you love these types of animals and content surrounding that topic. And ding the notification bell to know when my next video is coming out. So, without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and let her introduce herself, take the reins, and share her 3 tips with you guys. And then I will continue by sharing mine. So, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Let's get to it.
Hi guys, my name is Trisha. I also go by Reptilian Garden on YouTube and Instagram for those of you that don't know me. And this is Banba, my veiled chameleon. So I'm really happy to be doing this collaboration. This is going to be so much fun. So today I am here to bring you guys 3 tips for keeping lizards. So for those of you that don't know me or the animals that I keep a bearded dragon, a blue-tongued skink, a veiled chameleon, African fat-tailed gecko, leopard gecko, couple crested geckos, and a couple of gargoyle geckos. So I do have experience with quite a variety of different lizards. So based on that experience, I'm here to bring you some tips today. So my number 1 tip today is for feeding lizards that are picky eaters. So I do have a couple of tricks and I'm gonna list those today for you. So basically, if you have an animal that eats the diet of Pangea or Repashy, they also eat insects in their diet as well. And I've noticed that with these animals, they tend to be a little picky towards one or the other diet. So the ones that actually like the Pangea or the Repashy don't like the insects, or they may like the insects over the Pangea or the Repashy, and it can get quite challenging. So the way to overcome this is to literally mix the 2 up in order to get them both in the diet. So if you have a crested gecko, for instance, that likes the Pangea but it doesn't like insects, try mashing up some of your insects and putting it in the Pangea. That way your gecko is still getting that protein. Or you can literally buy the Pangea that has insects in it already, because that is obviously going to be an easier route. And for an animal that likes the insects over the Pangea or the Repashy, literally take your insect and dip it in the Pangea or the Repashy before feeding it to your animal. That way they can start getting a taste for it. It's obviously going to be getting in their system. They'll start to realize it's food, and hopefully they'll start to eat it on their own in the future. Another trick that works for picky lizards is bee pollen. This works especially for bearded dragons. I don't know what it is about it, but bearded dragons love bee pollen. It also just adds more vitamins, minerals, and nutrients into your lizard's diet. So there's really not a way to go wrong with it. I would recommend not to do it with every single feeding, just because you want to do it in moderation. Maybe once a week would be perfectly fine. But if you aren't going to be doing it, it's great to get a powder form first. They are sold in like little pellets as well. If you do buy the pellets, make sure you mash it up first before you dust it on their salad or insects or whatever you're feeding. And my 3rd trick has to do with my veiled chameleon here and my bearded dragon. So sometimes bearded dragons can be picky, as I mentioned before. And another trick that I have to get them to eat their greens is to literally just feed them the greens and put the insects on top of the greens. This actually works for my veiled chameleon. Veiled chameleons are known to eat some vegetation in the wild. It's great to give them more vitamins and nutrients, and also it hydrates them as well. So you really can't go wrong with it. What I do is actually put a little feeding bowl in Banba's enclosure, and I put the insects on top of the greens, and then when he uses that tongue, it's going to launch in there, and it's very sticky on the end, and when he tries to grab the insects, it's also going to stick to the greens as well, and then he's going to consume them. So those are just a couple of my feeding tricks for lizards. My next tip has to do with lighting for your lizard. So when it comes to lighting for your lizard, it is very important to realize how they behave in the wild and their schedules and how they react with the sun. So my first example would be a bearded dragon. A bearded dragon is an animal that's going to be basking in the sun all day long and then sleeping all night. So for this type of an animal, because it's out in that fully exposed sun, it's going to need indoors a UVA and a UVB. So this is just critical for their health. And at nighttime, they can handle a drop. You aren't going to need lighting at nighttime because obviously they don't have lighting aspects at nighttime in the wild. Now, for an animal that is quite the opposite and is nocturnal, which means that they're going to be sleeping during the day, hiding away from that sun, and then they come out at nighttime to hunt. So for an animal like this, they are not going to have a UVA or UVB requirement, meaning that they aren't going to need any lighting. But it is important to make sure that you're still reaching the adequate temperatures for your animal. Another example would be a leopard gecko, which is diurnal, which means that they come out basically at dusk and dawn. They literally just come out to hunt and that's it. Other than that, they're going to be hiding away. So for an animal like this, they aren't going to require the UVA or UVB because they aren't basking out in the sunlight similar to other reptiles, but they are still going to need to reach a certain heat level. So for an animal like this, lighting isn't a requirement, but to reach that heat level, they will absolutely need a heat pad regulated by a thermostat underneath the enclosure. That way they can hide in their hides and feel safe and secure and still reach those adequate temperatures that they desperately need. And my last tip for today has to do with supplementation, which can get very confusing. So hopefully I found a way to break it down and make it very simple. So basically supplementation goes along with the lighting aspects. So if you have a lizard that does require the UVA and the UVB, such as a bearded dragon, then you should be dusting their food with calcium without D3. Any animal that also has a UVB source should have calcium without D3, because if a lizard already has UVB and then you're giving it D3 on top of that, it's just way too much for them and it can cause health issues. But then if it's the opposite and you have a lizard that does not require the UVB, then you absolutely should be supplementing with calcium with D3. And then the easiest tip for supplementation just goes for all lizards across the board. They should be given a multivitamin 1 time a month. So it's easiest just to literally pick one specific day out of every month and make that the multivitamin day. Dust that on their insects or their salads, whatever you're feeding them, and you're good to go. And Bamba's good to go too. Where are you going, bud? I love how Bamba is like the completely different colors on both sides. Chameleons are the coolest. So yeah, those are all of my tips for lizards today. I hope that this was helpful. Thank you so much, Reptiliatus, for having me on your channel. This was so much fun. So yeah, I'm gonna let you get back to it. Thanks for having me.
So guys, one of the first tips I'd like to share with you all today has to do with litter training some of your ground-dwelling species of gecko. So that could be the Pyridura, or for example, the leopard geckos of the Eublepharis genus. These would be some of the more commonly kept genera that you can do this with. So these animals generally live in rock formations, small crevices, hiding places, and for whatever reason pertaining to evolutionary adaptations, they tend to always defecate in one area, which is really nice and makes cleaning them easy. What you can actually do to train this process is in the same way you do it with small animals and rodents. These are my designated poop tongs. You can move their feces to one spot, or for example, clean all their feces up and leave like 2 little pieces somewhere. And it actually stimulates the animal to use that spot as a washroom. So in the case of Petrina here, who's in a temporary enclosure because I'm moving, so please try not to judge. This tub is just set up this way for now as I'm moving across country. In the case of her temporary enclosure here, which I've removed off the heat source, I have selected for this top little balcony here to be her place of defecation, where she uses as a washroom. So she always poops there. All I have to do is make sure that if I'm cleaning the enclosure, there's at least one piece of poop there, and she'll just know to keep going there. And if you keep reinforcing it, they'll usually use that corner. So that's kind of a fun little fact you can do. You can actually have a proper litter pan or tray, something small that you can pick out and remove in a corner of the enclosure and put the poops there. And generally, if there's enough of it, they'll always go to that spot and you can just keep taking it away and cleaning it, which is kind of awesome. Now with my feeding tongs, we can say hi. Hey girl, come on over. This is Petrina. Oh, drop the soil. Good job, girl. All right, see you later. Bioactive enclosures can be super rewarding to have set up for your animals. You get to reap the rewards of live plants. They help elevate humidity in the enclosure. It keeps things looking absolutely beautiful. But when it comes to breeding animals that would choose to bury their eggs, it can be quite a nightmare searching for those eggs when the whole surface area of the ground is a potential laying site. That's why one of the tips I recommend is actually having a laying box situated in the enclosure. Now, there are species that really choose to dig and systematically hide their eggs. A lot of species will purposely dig themselves in the root system of a plant and deposit their eggs there, so it's close to a source that keeps them hydrated and sort of provides a caged sense of security for the egg. Now, for me, I like to provide a seasonal laying box. So when I know that my animals are ovulating or breeding, I place the laying box in there. And if it's an animal that still needs a decent amount of humidity, I'll make sure to provide a bit of substrate along the bottom, but the primary laying spot will be a laying box. So let me show you guys what I mean. So here we have my Rhacodactylus leachianus, which are the giant geckos. And you can see a lot more of them in other content on my channel. I'll post a few links or cards up above in the top right corner. This here is their laying box for Leela. Now, we are at the tail end of the laying season. I'm fairly confident that she's not going to be laying anymore, but there she is, beautiful girl. However, she does have this hidden, sheltered laying box if she so chooses to lay another clutch. It's a moist soil there, and she can just go in there, not only feel secure, but it's deeper substrate than everywhere else. So the idea is you want the laying box to be the best option in the enclosure for the animal to produce or lay its eggs. Otherwise, they might just choose to lay their eggs in the substrate, and you not spotting them can result in them drying out, which is really the worst thing ever and has happened to me before. So having a nice, ideal, hidden, secure location for the animal is really helpful and ensures that you're always going to know and minimize the place you have to look for eggs. No Easter egg hunt here. It's always going to be in the same spot. Easy. Don't have to worry about it. Isn't that right, Leela? Would you like a hornworm? Want a hornworm, girl? They're her favorite. Good girl. She absolutely loves hornworms. It's weird. She won't take crickets ever, but if you give her a hornworm, she is down. Enjoy. Lastly, for my third tip, I'd like to focus on trust building with an animal. If you keep certain types of reptiles that you can sort of have more of an interaction with, such as my infamous tokay gecko Tiki back here, a lot of people have asked me how I get them so calm around me, how I get them to accept food from tongs, and the key is just persistence but patience. You need to be patient with the animal and just really sit there quietly, offer them food. Food is the key to a lot of animals' hearts, and it really helps with the trust building. So let's go ahead and I'll show you what I mean. So naturally, this is a little bit of a skewed example because he's obviously used to being fed now, but the principle is still the same. You're basically going to grab some of your feeders and you just want to patiently offer them to the animal until they're comfortable enough to come to you for them. So you could literally find wherever they're hiding and just simply hold the prey until they come, and they'll just kind of get used to it. And then you can do things like put your arm out so the gecko has to walk on your arm if they want the food. So in this example, Tiki, come on. Good job, buddy. Let's see if he'll come out this way. Are you gonna come for it? Come on. Oh, look at that. And then you just start building trust that way. You see, he's still scared, but there's still something there because a while back he would not have done that. I can tell you right now. But see, if I come like this, we're not doing too bad. It's about slow movement around the animal. He's okay. So I hope that kind of helps. Just be persistent. Really work on it. Well, guys, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed Trisha and I's 3 tips on keeping lizards. They're just kind of diverse. They're fun. You know, Trisha brought up some fantastic points. We tried to touch on things that people ask a lot about. Definitely never hesitate to drop a comment down below if you have any questions for either of us. We're always happy to help with the community and with our viewers. Thanks so much for watching again. Trisha, thanks so much for joining me in this video, and thanks for having me join you in yours. I will link her video at the end of mine once it's out, so you can just kind of follow it over and watch that one too. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and see you guys in another video again soon. Take care.